Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Extra Open House. We'll be getting started shortly. It is noon Eastern here, where I'm joining you from. And so we'll get started, and welcome to the Extra Program Open House. And my name is Geneviève Martin. I'm a senior program lead on the leadership and capacity building team here at Healthcare Excellence Canada. And I'm joining you today from our head office, our home office, that's located in downtown Ottawa on the unsurrendered, unceded Algonquin territory. And at HEC, we recognize and appreciate the historic connection to this place, and we have an opportunity to gather here today. So while you're coming in, we do have a map of Canada up on the screen, and if you want to use the annotation tool, and you can introduce yourselves also in the chat if you want, but you can use the stamp tool or from the annotation menu in the Zoom. You can select the stamp, and you could stamp where you're from, where you're joining us from, and give you a few minutes to see. There we go. Thank you, Nicole. You got us going. Nicole in Ontario. Let's see if where we've got people joining us from. There we go, Lisa. Welcome, Northwest Territories, another Ontario. Okay, so it seems we have a few people from anybody out west or in the Maritimes or the Atlantic provinces. Okay, hi Desiree, Saskatchewan. Okay, so we will get, oh wow, great. Okay, we will get going, and I'll start with a few introductions, but a bit maybe before, just I want to let everybody know that the session is being recorded, and we will share the recording in a few days. And so this recording will also be available for limited time on our website. And today, with me are Chantal Leclerc, a coach who works on our program, a coach, an extra coach. I have Michelle De Podesta, who's an extra fellow from cohort 18, who will come and share her experience as an extra participant. And we have our team in the extra team with me, and our producers Thea and Jill are in the background and will probably be able to answer and monitor the chat for any questions and help you through if you're having any issues. You can ask your questions as we go. You can type them in the chat. You can raise your hand. You can wave. May or may not see you, but we don't mind if you want to answer the question, ask questions as we go. Just so you know, we will also have some time at the end to have a question and answer session. So, but feel free to go as we go. Okay, so maybe to get started, a bit about Healthcare Excellence Canada, if you haven't heard or it's the first time you interact with us. We're an independent, not-for-profit organization that is funded primarily by Health Canada. We are a fairly new organization. We are just celebrating our 5 years. We amalgamated, it was an amalgamation between the Canadian Foundation for Healthcare Improvement and the Canadian Patient Safety Institute. And so we work with partners such as you to spread innovation, build capability, and catalyze policy change so that everyone in Canada has safe and high quality healthcare. And so we are very committed to fostering inclusive and equitable care, and we encourage meaningful partnerships with different groups, including your patients, caregivers, communities, First Nation, Inuit and Métis, providers, and more. So a bit about Extra. Extra is the oldest program of health. It predates Healthcare Excellence Canada. It started when the organization was called CHSF RF, and it's a team-based, and this is it's an important part because many of you, and we've already had questions whether you can sign up as an individual, but it is a team-based leadership development program, and it's also a bilingual program, meaning that some of the content is delivered in French and some in English. We always provide simultaneous interpretation, but it is a bilingual program. Is it 50-50? We're not there yet. So for the Francophone community, it's a bit more English, but we do offer the sessions in both languages. And we're really building the capability of leaders such as yourself to improve quality and safety in healthcare. And we want to build those capabilities so you can generate change that's going to last and sustain in your organizations. We want to get you to be able to address complex problems. We know you work in a complex system, and we want to support you to address those complex problems. And with that, the Extra program does offer strategic coaching with people. Our coaches are typically people who held executive positions in the healthcare system. So we are a bit unique. We deliver a hands-on program. So you're developing leadership skills, but you're also applying the learnings through an improvement project that we ask that you sign up with. And that way you can apply the learnings as you work through the improvement project. So a bit of a different leadership development program, and we've been running for 21 years, and over the years, we've had 177 organizations that have participated. It's always hard to count this number because of amalgamations and regionalization, but we say 177 organizations have participated. But the total right now, we have across Canada 737 fellows. We call the participants fellows that have graduated from the program, and for a total of 306 improvement projects. And I invite you to look at the website. You can see summaries of these improvement projects across the years and get an idea of what the teams have worked on. So a bit about how we run the program. It's a hybrid model. So some of the content is delivered through webinars virtually, but we do have what we call residencies, and these are in-person. We call them in-person workshops also, where we gather all the teams in one place in Canada for 3.5 days, and we offer some content, obviously, but a chance for you to apply some of the learnings with your team, but also it's a time in the residency where we do like to mix you up and sit you with different people, people from different teams, and have some discussions and share. So there are in-person content delivery and also virtual. We try to offer the webinars on a regular basis. We'd like to say we'll offer you a webinar on every third Thursday of the month. I can't promise we try. It's not always possible, but we try to make it predictable for you so that you know when you have some extra content. We offer coaching, and you'll get to hear from Chantal in a few minutes, and consultations. So all of our faculty are also available for you to consult with them. If you hear some content and you really want to talk more to the faculty, we do part of how a role of our faculty is to make themselves available to you to consult and discuss how it applies more to your project. And we do, like I said, you have an improvement project to work on, and we have certain deliverables as you move along in your project, just so we can help you advance at this project. So this slide's just more to look at all the components that we're going to ask. So each team, we ask that each team have an executive sponsor. Most of the teams, it's their organization CEO or executive director that acts as the executive sponsor, but sometimes the CEO or the executive director is in the team, but we do ask that there's a sponsor for the team. The fellowship team or the extra team, we suggest 3 to 5 people to form a team. There have been exceptions, mostly to the 6 people. It is very difficult to be only a 2-person team. I'm not saying no. I would love to talk to you. If you think you have a 2-person team, please email us and we can have a discussion. It's just in the past, it's been a bit hard to be only 2, not impossible, but 3 to 5 is the recommended number. Now, depending on the size of your organization, sometimes you can create an implementation team, meaning you're leading the project, but you've got people doing the chain, like they're doing it. Sometimes the leaders that are in extra are also the doers. We understand that, but you can think of your extra team as more director level and up or manager level and up decision making, and you can have an implementation team for your project that is different. And we do ask that all teams think of creating an advisory committee, steering committee to help them advance their project. So think of your partners, and that's why the word engagement is there, so that you can think of who you should engage for this project and include them at least in the advisory committee. And we will talk a lot about engagement as part of the curriculum. Here at HEC, we have a staff that is here to support you, but we also work with coaches, as I've mentioned, and faculty to sort of round up the team that HEC offers, and that creates the extra programs. So the HEC staff, like myself, are not the ones delivering the content. We get some expert faculty to come and deliver the content. All our content is based on a leadership competency framework that has 3 big, and we'll have this on the website too, so you can read more in detail. But we look at competencies to develop your self-leadership, to shape your organizational leadership, and also to transform the system leadership. And all our curriculum is mapped on these competencies. So throughout the program, at each time we have a session, you will be sort of guided on which of these competencies the session is addressing. And so this is where we base what we're trying to develop in the leadership program. So these are some examples of sessions that we have offered under each of the umbrella of the leadership competencies. So we do look at self, and we look at the team at the beginning, and we discuss a lot of how you develop and lead high-performing teams. We examine our own privilege and examine how we're doing in our own cultural safety, how we can do joy at work and things like that. And then we have some sessions on organizational leadership, where you're doing some of the improvement and the engagement and how you sustain that, and then transform the leadership, where we talk a bit more at the system level, how you can lead and really transform the system. So the curriculum of Extra is constantly evolving. For example, the current curriculum is different than what we would have offered during COVID, and we will just keep an eye on what the current issues are and try to address some current issues. So there's always a bit of space. We have the foundation, but there's always a bit of space for us to adjust the curriculum to address the current issues. So the foundations, before you start the program, we will give you links to what we call the Foundations of Healthcare Excellence here at Healthcare Excellence Canada. And it's really just a starting point. Some of you will already have a lot of knowledge in these areas, and others will be more at the beginning, but you'll have access to this. And it's also great because these foundations also give you good examples as leaders how you can help to develop cultural safety, patient safety, an engagement capable environment, and promote health equity within your teams. So depending on where you are, you may already be familiar with these concepts, but we do ask, once you're in the program, we'll give you a link to some of for these foundations, and you'll be able to start with that, so that once we get going, we're all on the same, we all have some basis for that. So you might have seen that we are the application portal is open, and we will be accepting applications until June 10th, 2026. But you would be notified of your acceptance in the program around August, and we would kick off in September 2026 after Labor Day, basically. And from there, we will do some virtual content until our first residency or in-person event the last week of November in 2026. And this one has been decided. It will be at the Banff Center in Alberta. The second residency typically is, we don't have the date right now confirmed, but it typically is the first week of May. Location to be determined. And then we do finish again a year later at a residency in November. And in between these residency, that's when there is virtual content. And that's when also you have periodic or predictable meetings with your coaches. So most teams, and I'll let Chantal talk about that, but schedule some regular meeting with the coaches. So between the in-person, there is still virtual content being delivered and chances to work with your coaches. Just in November in person. So if you sign up for this cohort, you would be cohort 21. In November 2026, you would have a day with the cohort 20 that is currently doing extra. They would finish, that would be their last residency. You would overlap a day with the outgoing cohort. And therefore, in November 2027, you would overlap with C22. You would be the outgoing cohort, and you would come and exchange with those coming in. So there is one day in the residencies in November where there is an overlap with, and you graduate a few months later. And the reason the graduation's a bit later is that once we finish the content, we give you a few months to tidy up everything, and the final deliverable is a short report on your where your improvement project is at. We don't expect the project to be totally done, but where you're at. And there are a few questions about more your learnings as a leader and to share some of learnings as a leader. So the final deliverable is a report in different formats, but we also send you a survey, a team survey and an individual survey that has key questions that we need information to report to Health Canada, our funder. So just a bit of a heads up, but we're not asking for a thesis for your final report, but we do ask for a final report. Expectations when you sign up. Well, basically, as much as you can to attend the webinars and the in-person workshops and the coaching calls. We understand that people are busy, so we do record all our virtual content is recorded and shared a few days after it happened. So there is a possibility to listen again to some sections, but we do, to the best of your ability to attend live. The in-person is a bit more difficult to record. Sometimes we can record some sessions, but usually there's so much interaction with the people that it really, this is where you really want to work hard at attending live. Basically, we expect that when there's some deliverables, and this is something you work a lot with your coaches, that you meet the timeline. We do ask for progress presentations sometimes. So, for example, at the May in person, we might say, okay, every team needs to present their progress. So there's some expectations like that to report how you're doing. And obviously within your own teams, we expect the member to be fully participating. And we do send some short surveys at the end of some sessions, and we would really basically expect you to give us some feedback. And I can assure you that it's taken, we read the feedback after a session, and we do adjust. We make constant adjustments to the program. So the program does use a quality improvement methodology, and so does the team at HEC. If we get some suggestions, we will make some rapid adjustments and try do a test of change in the program to see if we can improve how the fellows are experiencing it. So I'm going to pass the mic to Chantal Leclerc, who is a coach with the Extra program. And I'll let Chantal introduce herself. I won't read her bio. Chantal, you can give a bit of her background. And right after Chantal, we're going to go with Michelle De Podesta, who is an Extra C18 fellow. And again, Michelle, I will ask you to give maybe a bit more background. And so I'll stop sharing the slides and give them the full screen.
Great. Thanks so much, Geneviève. And hello, everybody. Thank you for your interest in the Extra program. It's great to see you in such large numbers. So I'm Chantal Leclerc, and I have been a coach with the Extra program for the last 5 years. I am a registered nurse and have spent my career working in pretty much every facet of healthcare, mainly in Ontario and a bit in Quebec. I was the CEO of a regional health authority in Eastern Ontario as my most recent employment in healthcare. I've had a short stint the last 4 years or so working in a pan-Canadian intergovernmental organization. And I am just recently retired since early December. So I have to say, I've been involved in a lot of different leadership programs, both as a participant throughout my career, but also as a contributor to some of those programs. And I continue to be so impressed by the quality of the Extra program. Of course, I'm biased. Full disclosure, I am biased. But I have to say, even after 5 years as a coach, I continue to learn. The faculty are top notch. You have people from across Canada who come to present and meet with you. We have international faculty as well. So you have access to that whole cadre of incredibly bright, intelligent, and knowledgeable people who are there to accompany you throughout the program, and I would say beyond. One of the beauties of this leadership program, as Geneviève's slide pointed out how many fellows have come through the program, well, you will be networked with people from across the country during the program and also afterwards. So there's a huge opportunity to learn what others are doing. And that's sort of the approach that we use in the coaching model. So every team is assigned to a coach who is there with you for the entire duration of the program. Our job is really to play different roles with you. So, of course, we're a huge supporter of you and your work. A big part of what we do is try to help you integrate what you're learning in the theory. So, the webinars, the in person workshops, integrate that into your real lives, into your practice. We're sometimes there to translate a little bit or to remind you, to bring you back to something that may have been covered during the workshop and how it applies to the problem that you're trying to tackle. We help you refine your understanding of the problem that you wish to work on throughout the extra program. So you will see we spend a lot of time making sure that your program is well defined, that you understand it well, because as you know in healthcare, you need to attribute a good diagnosis. You need to make a good diagnosis of the problem in order to figure out what you want to do about it, what solutions you might want to bring to bear. We are there to be a sounding board, so you can use your coach to problem solve around some challenging situations, to get feedback, to get advice. We're there sometimes to be a devil's advocate or a sober second thought. So we might challenge you, ask you some questions, push your thinking to go a little bit further, a little bit deeper, all in the interest of ensuring that you're getting the most out of the program, that you're learning as much as you can, and that you are taking all of what you're learning and applying it to the program, to your problem. One of the beauties of the extra program and the coaching is that if your own coach doesn't have an answer or maybe is not the expert, the coaches meet on a regular basis. So we meet about every 6 weeks, and we help each other out. So if I had a team that was stumped or that needed some support, I can reach into not only the faculty, so all of the people who are presenting content, but the other coaches. And the coaches are all seasoned healthcare executives. We have former deputy ministers of health. We have CEOs of health regions and large health organizations. The coaches are an unbelievable wealth of knowledge and resource for you. And so we do help each other out. And so it would be quite possible that I might connect you to another coach. The other thing that we also do is we sometimes reach back in our memories and might link you to another extra team from a previous cohort. And you'll hear from Michelle soon, but who has tackled either a similar problem as the clinical one or the organizational one you're trying to tackle, or a similar challenge along the way, whether that be, you were faced with a healthcare restructuring happening right in the middle of your fellowship. We might reach into previous cohorts, previous teams who have faced a similar challenge. So I would say that the coaching approach, we meet about once a month. That seems to be the regular cadence that most teams benefit from. It's usually an hour. It's a virtual meeting. We go over where you're at, and really you come with whatever help and support that you need from your coach. It could be around a specific issue, it could be more general. And as I say, we help make sure that you are on track with the deliverables and with the cadence of the program. And we're there to help unstick you and get you unstuck if you ever get stuck along the way. And like I said, a lot of what we do is to help you troubleshoot, to help you challenge yourself, and to help you find solutions to whatever it is that you're trying to tackle in the program. I would say that some of the teams that I have worked with from across the country, some have been naturally occurring teams. So these are teams that work together in their day to day. And I've also had the chance to work with teams who were sort of put together for the purpose of being in the extra program. And there's no right or wrong here. All the teams end up working well and working well together on a particular improvement initiative. And in closing, just before I hand this off to Michelle, is I would say you in the extra program are incredibly fortunate to be supported by such a large cadre of experts. including the staff of the extra program, who are always available to support the extra teams. And so I was thinking back in my own career of the times where I've had to tackle a large scale problem in my organizations and how I would have benefited from that expertise and that wide network of support. If you've ever brought in consultants, you know that they do great work, but there is nothing that would compare to the immense support that you would get and the resources that you would get through the extra program. So I know Geneviève may mention that for those of you that will move on to thinking about an application, there's an opportunity to have some pre-application coaching calls with some of the coaches who can help you talk about your ideas and help you reframe or refine your thinking around your problems that you might like to tackle to help you prepare for submitting an application. So I'll stop there, Geneviève, and hand it back to you, and happy to take questions later.
Well, thank you, Chantal, and we'll go straight to Michelle.
Thanks, Genevieve, and thanks, Chantal. Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Di Podesta, and I'm coming to you today from Unama'ki, also known as Cape Breton Island, of the unceded and ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. In my day job, I'm the Executive Director of Acute Health Services with Nova Scotia Health Authority and have some responsibility within the Eastern Zone. Prior to coming to Nova Scotia, my family and I sort of moved across the country in the midst of the pandemic. But prior to that, I spent 17 years with Fraser Health Authority in BC. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you this afternoon. And when Genevieve reached out and asked if I would come and talk to you all about the experience with Extra, I graciously and excitedly said yes. So I thought I would kind of I was prepping for today and was trying to sort of outline what I would really want you to know about the program, sort of I was going to say the good and the bad, but there actually isn't any bad. Maybe just sort of the goodness and maybe some honesty as you sort of consider this adventure. So I'll talk a little bit about my experience, just sort of the personal impact it's had on me, on my leadership. A little bit of advice of maybe when you're applying or sort of thinking about, yes, I'd actually like to embark on this journey. And then maybe some advice on if you are successful and you do, have a seat in the program for cohort 21, just some things to consider. And I was sort of reflecting on a few things that Genevieve and Chantal have already talked about. So it might be some duplication. We have not pre-planned this or pre-recorded. It's I think, great, maybe some alignment in terms of some advice and recommendations for you. So the first maybe is just really about my experience. And I would tell you that it really was a transformative experience for me. And I think, I was reflecting about the why that is. And I think, like many of you, I've been through many leadership development programs throughout my career. And I've also participated in many quality initiative improvement projects and opportunities. And I think what makes this program so unique is it actually combines the two together. You really think about how do we show up as leaders in a very complex healthcare system. You're all leaders. Healthcare across the country is the same. We're all addressing and trying to solve the same complex problems. And I think it's how do I show up as a leader with my teams to continue to do that? Really taking a quality initiative approach that actually impacts patient care in some way, whether your project directly impacts care or improves a system. I think that was, a really highlight for me is I got to improve my leadership skills, as I said, but also make a difference in the care that we're providing to Nova Scotians. I think the other piece that is important is I also appreciated really the knowledge translation. Chantal mentioned it a little bit as well. I think sometimes we go to leadership development courses and we come out with all of this great knowledge. And if you're like me, I think, what do I do with this now? How do I apply it? And I think the fellowship program itself takes you through sort of this paced curriculum that allows you to learn something and then really practically apply it for your improvement project before you move on to the next set of learnings. So I really appreciated that knowledge translation approach to the program. The other thing that I'll say is I was very fortunate to complete the fellowship with my own leadership team, with several members of my team. And it was amazing that we did it together. I think it's actually shaped even how we act as a team now. Post-graduation, we've been several years out, and we still refer back to our learnings in Extra. I think it's shaped how we look at problems differently, how we problem solve collectively. And I think it's really honestly changed the way we work together. I think that was such a rewarding benefit to the program that we didn't initially think about or see as a reward, I guess, at the end of the program. But it certainly changed our team fabric, which has been amazing. If I shift gears a little bit on you to say, okay, if you're probably thinking this program seems daunting, I have a really busy healthcare leadership job. I know what all of you do and what you're responsible for in a day, and we work long days. That's the reality of what happens when we sign up to be healthcare leaders. So don't be nervous. Would encourage you all to take a leap. And I think some advice around that is choose your improvement project of something that you're already working on. So don't try and solve something that is off the side of your desk that you have to do this as an extra thing, because you won't be successful. We knew in our improvement project that regardless if we were selected into the fellowship program, it was an improvement we had to do anyway. So we were committed to working through our improvement project, and we just happened to have the bonus of being selected and participating in the program. The other piece, and we got caught in this early on, is that when we think of quality improvement and we think of initiatives, we want to boil the ocean. That's impossible. Quality improvement is really about small incremental change. So make sure that whatever your improvement project is, that it actually is achievable and sustainable. That's not to say that after the program, you might not think that there's a phase 2 or a phase 3 or even a phase 4 to your project, but don't try and go too quickly in your improvement, because you'll get too caught up in the sort of the large scale change and some of the implementation and the learnings within the program itself. I know Genevieve talked about this already, but the team piece is really important. And I spoke a little bit already about how, the reward was that we learned to work differently as a team. But quality improvement and healthcare leadership, healthcare is actually a team sport. We don't do anything independently. We do have to work collaboratively. True quality improvement is about trying to change the system, and that takes lots of people. And so one of the advice we learned early on is we needed a broad spectrum of members of our team. We actually started out as a team of 4, and we quickly realized after one of the first or second webinars that we were missing someone really fundamental from our team, which was someone from our communications team. And so we hadn't really thought of her in the early stages, but it quickly became apparent that she was sort of a missing link for us. So when you think about your team, really try and think of what's that broad spectrum approach from a systems perspective that will really add to the diversity. And those of you who would be choosing to do a clinical or a direct patient care impact would highly recommend that you look at a physician partner as part of your team. We were lucky enough to have a physician within our team, and she brought such a deep, different perspective to us, which was super helpful. I'm really sorry if you can hear the overhead page. Those of you who work in an acute care facility know that the overhead pages are constant, so my apologies. And know that your team back home is also crucially important. So not only would your team participating in the Extra Fellowship, make sure those folks are well-rounded, but as Genevieve talked about in the the beginning, your implementation team, sort of back home or on the ground, is equally important. And we had such a strong relationship with our implementation team that actually supported like the actual work. So you don't need to do everything and tackle everything all at once. You're not responsible for it all. It's really how do you enable some support. And then I suppose my last piece of advice for you would be that if you are successful, really make this a priority. I know we all have competing priorities, and I was guilty of this myself, where your phone is constantly going. There's constant competing priorities. We made a team commitment in the early days that we were going to treat our extra time as if we were on vacation. So we put our out of offices on, and we really sort of tried to protect that time and space, not only for each other, for ourselves, but also the other extra participants. I mean, it's such a gift. I think it's been highlighted a few times already. The pan-Canadian approach is absolutely amazing. Meeting different leaders across the country. I'm still in touch with a few folks from the Yukon. Our projects are very similar. We still sort of connect and interact or ask each other for advice. So really make the time and space for that. Leaving your family or your job for a few days and sitting in some of the residencies, if you're super distracted, it's not really a good use of your time. You're going to do all of this travel without actually the benefit of really taking everything that the program has to offer, including the interaction with faculty and staff. And the last thing is just enjoy the journey. It's a great one.
Thank you, Michelle. And and I'm going to just share my screen and maybe just talk a bit about the application. I wanted to make sure I showed the picture of you in action at Extra before I moved on to the other slide and show how you participated. So just to finish, I do have a few slides just about the application process, and we will have time for questions. And maybe take again a bit of some things will be repetitive, but it's also good to repeat and build on, because as I was listening to Chantal and Michelle, I thought, oh, I could have said this, I could have said that. So to apply, you go to our website, and HEC now has a portal. Sign in, there goes the animation. You sign into the portal, and once you sign into the portal, you will be able to access the application form. And once you get into the portal, you can get started. The portal is open to Canadian organizations, and if your organization has already interacted in one way or another with HEC, you will be able to access the portal directly, because there is a drop down that will ask you, what organization are you from? If you have not interacted, there's just a little bit of a delay where it'll tell the portal, hi, I'm from this organization. They will add your organization to the drop-down list. So there's a step more if you've never interacted with HEC. And then you will see that you can enter the portal, and Extra is one of the programs that is available to you, and you will be able to access the application form. The application form, there's these sections, and I'll go through all of the sections, but we ask for a primary contact within the team. We want to know about who's sponsoring. It could be one organization or more. And this is one thing that I forgot to say. Your team doesn't need to be formed of people from your own organization only. We have had Extra teams where it's a hospital with people from a community organization. We've had a regional health authority with somebody from the university come in. We've had people from the health ministry come in with the justice ministry. We've had regional health authority and government together. So your team can be formed from people from different organizations, and that's why we say it doesn't have to be one sponsoring organization. It could be more than one organization that sponsored the teams. We talked a bit about the team members, and we do like to think if you have an appropriate level of responsibility within your organization. That's what we're looking for. And we will ask you some questions about your own leadership development goals in the application. We'll ask you about the improvement project, funding requirement, program fees, and the implementation team. I'll go through the next slides, I think, go through the section. So I'll just some things to think about. So the primary contact is usually one of the team members. It will act as a primary contact with HEC. And what does that mean? Sometimes we send the information only to the team contact. We just send, we can't communicate with you. A lot of times everybody gets the email, but sometimes it's just as the primary contact, you are receiving this information. In the application form, you can invite others to collaborate. So you don't have to fill out, it's not one person that has to fill out the form. You'll be able to invite the other team members to join into the application form and collaborate filling out the form. I mentioned sponsoring organizations. You don't have to be from one organization, and we will ask you to list all the team members, usually 3 to 5. We've had teams of 6. Again, if you're thinking of only 2 people, please contact HEC and we can just discuss a bit more and see if it's feasible, because it can be a bit hard to join the program with only 2 people. The improvement projects, things we're going to ask you is just to tell us a bit about what's the problem you're trying to solve with a project. Chantal spoke about it. Do not get attached too much to your problem, because it's something we work on a lot in the program to question, is that really the problem? Some people describe a problem as a solution, and so we would bring you back to thinking of the problem. But describe the project. We ask you to write a problem statement and an aim statement, and just a bit about thinking about the anticipated outcomes of your project we'd like to hear about. Again, we can discuss about the project. You can call us to sort of let us know what you're thinking, and we can ask some questions and try to refine that with you. And I do invite you to look at the projects on the website, the past projects. If you scroll down in the extra page, you will find short summaries of past projects. And as Michelle mentioned, some projects are really, have the effect on the patient, but you'll see a lot of projects are more system projects that are more at the system level, governance level, are trying to improve provider, the experience of the provider. So you'll see that there's varied, you'll get an idea of past projects. We will ask about whether you're going to have an implementation team and who would be in the implementation team. But we also ask you some questions about engagement broader, like who do you think would be you'd invite on the advisory committee? And we will ask you to invite patient partners or community partners or family caregiver partners. And we want a description of how you would engage them throughout the phases of the project. And so we're also going to ask you about your engagement with First Nation Inuit Métis, and it's okay to say that you've never done it. We're here to help you do it, but just want to know if you do engage. And then the funding requirements and program fees. There is a program fee of $5,000 per person. So if you're a team of 4, $20,000. But there is some financial assistance available. And so you will see in the application do you need financial assistance? Obviously, organizations with limited resources, such as not-for-profit and smaller organizations, tend to maybe be prioritized. There is an envelope, and some teams have received full funding, others partial funding. But if you do need funding, please indicate it on your application form. What does the $5,000 cover? When we do meet in person, you do not pay for the flight. The hotel is covered by us, and 2 meals a day are covered by us. So the breakfast and the lunch. You are responsible for your incidentals and your dinners. And obviously the 5,000 covers the cost of coaching, faculty, and all the program content. A lot of people will ask, okay, once I pay the fee, what else do I have to pay over and above? And it would be your dinners during the in-person and any incidental during that in-person workshop. Just optional. We get this question a lot. Wanted to put it here in the open house. We do have a memorandum of understanding with the Canadian College of Health Leaders. If you are interested in doing your CHE, the Certified Health Executive Program, at the same time of extra, your extra project will count as the project for the CHE. So you will not have to do the Leads in Action project. You will not have to do the Leads learning series. All our content has been mapped to the Leads framework also. And the Canadian College of Health Leaders has approved our curriculum to meet that. You would have to do, in addition to extra, you would have to do the 360 assessment, do a development plan, and do the evaluation. So obviously you have to meet the requirements for the CHE to be eligible for this, but you can do both programs at the same time, or if you want to do it after, they do recognize your project after the fact too, but wanted to let you know about this agreement. It's been mentioned before, we do offer pre-application coaching calls. These calls are better once you think you have a team and once you have an idea for a project. If you have questions about the program, we can answer you by email. We can have a call just with HEC staff. We will bring a coach when you're a bit more decided, right? That you've got a project you'd like to discuss, team members and the composition of the team you want to discuss, then we bring a coach in. So if it's early stages, you may get a call just with one of us, of the HEC staff. But if you're a bit further on, we then bring on the coach. And we are always here to answer questions for the application. Do not let the application form stump you at any time. You can contact us and we can walk you through. We obviously want you to be successful and want to help you, so we can coach you through everything. So just so after this webinar, we will follow up to everybody who has registered. There will be an email which outlines a bit more in detail how to apply and how to navigate the portal and all those questions. And we can also include the recording of today. And we do have that generic extra force at hecesc.ca. Best way to contact somebody, we check that box every day, numerous times a day, and we will get back to you. So we have a bit of time for questions. Oh, how many applicants are selected? Okay, good question. Currently, we have 19 teams, and we would probably stay around 19 to 20 teams. So it translates into, maybe 80 to somewhere between 75 and 85 fellows, individuals. But that I think this has been a good number of perfect. If we do use we do use the model for improvement, but a lot of teams use different improvement tools. We use the driver diagram when you're doing your project, but a lot of teams have used the fishbone and things like that to also augment or a lot other models. So yeah, so the cost, it includes getting to and from the residency, and the accommodation, and we provide breakfast and lunch during the residency. We do not provide the dinner, and obviously the cost, you do not pay for coaching, you do not pay for any of the content, so the cost is covering the program. It's generally subsidized by Health Canada. No, only the first residency in November 2026 is known right now, and that is at the Banff Centre in Banff, Alberta. The May and the next November, you can probably will probably be one in Central Canada, and then maybe in Eastern Canada. We are funded by the Health Canada. We try to move around, but also we tend to stay in centers where you don't have to have multiple flights to get to. So we like to be near an airport that is a bit busier. So yeah, we have been in Ottawa, Montreal. We're going to Halifax in May. Calgary are some of the most recent places we've been. Erin, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, thanks for the opportunity. It's great to have all the context through the dialogue that you've created here. I'm curious as to whether you can speak to any priority topic areas. Like I know HEC generally has some pillars of the work that they do, and whether you're hoping that the applications may fall in line with the areas of which you're focused.
Yeah, well, we do like it when they're along our priority areas, but I do have to say to everybody that it's not it's not a condition for, but our priority are basically people with primary healthcare needs, so anything related to primary care, and older adults. So anything that promotes aging in place and care for older adults with health and social needs are certainly two of our priorities of our new, because we're just starting a new strategic plan. And those will be some of the things we're looking at. Basically, also connected care. We're just starting to scratch the surface on that in terms of appropriate use of technologies. So basically anything care closer to home and in community is certainly some of our priority with primary care.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, so a small facility without enough members to create a team. Ashley, I would love, let's have a talk. Let's have a chat. We have people from small organizations that have managed to come, and often is once we hear about your program or your project, or an idea, we encourage you to go look at some community partners to come in with you. And that helps because you form that team with people that you're going to need anyways to be successful. And yeah, so we certainly encourage that. But give us a call, because we do know that it's a bit more difficult. If any of you are from small organizations and you think, oh, I don't know that this works for us, please call, because we do have small organizations that are in our 19 teams this year, and we can sort of give you an idea how they've worked around it. And also if you want to get connected with them and hear about it, we will do that. Okay, well, I thank you so much for attending today. And again, thank you to Michelle and Chantal, and also Jill and Thea and Carla in the background producing. And if you do have follow-up questions, there is the extra generic email address on the website that you can email us for more information. And you will be getting a follow-up email from the session, and you will have all that information in there. And please, please do not get stuck at any time. Okay, we're here to help, and we do not want this to be difficult. Want to make this easy for you. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day.